What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. A lot has been happening lately between the main figures steering world affairs, and it feels like the entire geopolitical landscape has entered some bizarre twilight zone. Donald Trump, the President of the United States and self-proclaimed peace broker, has been going back and forth with the Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky. One day he loves Ukraine, the next day he is in a big fight with its president. And less than a week later, they are the best buddies once again. Meanwhile, Russia's official circles have been whispering sweet nothings in Trump's ear, quietly hoping to benefit from the tension brewing between Washington and Kiev. And if you think about it, the situation is absolutely unprecedented. Trump was a favorite president for the Russian people even before the elections took place. But after assuming office, he became some sort of a buddy, familiar and welcome in every Russian household.
Now, the Kremlin is suddenly full of praise for US President Trump's new Russia policy.
We understand perfectly well that the pragmatic approach that they are now showing in their relations with our country, an attempt to restore diplomatic relations, should be welcomed.
Let me tell you what, I personally don't even remember the last time Russians had a favorite president of the United States. Well, if I think about it, George Bush Jr., probably. But that's about it, literally. So now we have a situation where the Kremlin's propaganda mouthpieces, famous for bashing America at every turn, well, they now describe Trump with utmost respect, while dismissing Zelensky as a stubborn obstacle to any ceasefire. How tables turned. It is a circus act, but with nuclear stakes and real human lives on the line. So today, let's tackle the heart of the matter. How Trump's larger-than-life approach to peace has shaped a brand new political reality. How the Russian propaganda did a complete 180 turn and started praising Trump as the only one and only savior and true friend of Russia. How the Kremlin has found a way to capitalize on the friction between the US and Ukraine, and where Europe stands in it all. I will also tell you a personal story that sends shivers down my spine, which happened recently to our family, so stay tuned. Donald Trump spent 4 years in the White House crafting a public persona as the ultimate deal maker, the one man who could force conflicting factions to the negotiating table. Some believed he might pull off a few miracles, especially once he started hinting that he could end the conflict in Ukraine overnight, if only he had the power. Not that many people believed him, but that was his biggest promise during his political campaign.
If I were president, and I say this, I will end that war in one day. It'll take 24 hours. I know Zelensky well. I know Putin well. I would get that ended in a period of 24
You can break that deal.
100%. It would be easy. That deal would be easy.
After all, this is the same Trump who once said he's the best friends with Vladimir Putin, while also promising to push Putin to peace, whether he likes it or not. He respects me. Because if there is one leader the president of Russia respects and listens to, that's going to be Donald Trump, according to Donald Trump. But whatever we think about him, there is no denying that he did change the dialogue on international security by putting himself front and center. Under previous administration there was no end in sight for the war end. Well, now there are at least some movements. Not necessarily in Ukraine's favor, unfortunately, but, well, the Russian-Ukrainian war is once again on the front pages of all major media outlets. And as always, guys, the same disclaimer, on this channel we are trying to report the news as neutrally and unbiased as possible, because true journalism is about presenting as many facts as possible and letting people decide what they want to believe in. If you are watching other reporters or creators who heavily lean you towards one and only side, such journalism is treading on a dangerous zone right next to propaganda. We hope you understand and stay open-minded. We might not be going through the best times possible for Ukraine, but this is what is happening right now as we speak. In a world full of propaganda from both sides, it is very important to stick to the facts. Well, now, thank you for listening to the disclaimer. Now back to the topic of the video. With the conflict in Ukraine still burning, Trump's demands sound simple in theory. He wants a ceasefire, no matter how improbable, and he wants nobody to stand in the way of his peace-expressed reign. Yet the illusions fade away when we look closer. Zelensky's conditions hinge on security guarantees from the United States, meaning a firm commitment that if Russia ever breaks the deal, American forces would intervene. For Trump, that is a step too far. He is unwilling to bind American troops to a future war. The irony is that no other global leader wants to make that promise either, which only underscores how tricky this issue is. But to Trump, Zelensky's insistence on these guarantees is seen as the major stumbling block, so the possibility of receiving such guarantees is unfortunately pretty minimal. We are also talking about the actual peace deal, not the temporary ceasefire, which was proposed and accepted by the US and Ukraine, but not Russia, a couple of days ago. In the meantime, the Russian propaganda smells an extraordinary opportunity to profit from these unstable relations between the West and Ukraine as a whole. So they do every single thing living possible on earth to flatter Trump as much as possible until his next probable major mood swing. Let's talk about this right now, but first, here is the story I promised you in the beginning of the video that I personally think nobody should ever go through. As we sit in the airport waiting for our flight, the time moves extremely slow, and then when the boarding was just about to begin, to be announced, I get a notification on my phone asking whether I am trying to sign in into my banking app. Obviously I was not doing that, somebody else tried to do it. Not the best feeling in the world, let me tell you that. One thing is seeing an unauthorized $10 charge in your bank statement, and other is seeing somebody trying to access your entire bank account. Which means they got my password, login, everything, card numbers, everything. The world collapsed before my eyes, I got this tunnel vision and was literally staring at my phone, not knowing exactly what to do and afraid to touch anything so I don't accidentally authorize this login attempt. To make things worse, I was connected to a local Wi-Fi or a cafe or a gift shop, I don't remember. So the first thought I had, could this be actually hackers' Wi-Fi stealing everyone's information as they connect? As I gather my thoughts, the first thing I do was obviously to disconnect from this Wi-Fi, then turn on Surfshark VPN on my phone, go to another area where I can connect to regular airport Wi-Fi, not something suspicious. Well, it is still shady enough, because even with the airport public Wi-Fi, good hackers can still steal your information. But well, it is better than nothing. But anyways, what did give me a peace of mind is being connected to a VPN server. So I declined this authorization attempt, manually log in into my banking app, change all the passwords, everything, and hope to never see another sign-in attempt, at least until we board the plane. This would have meant, hopefully, that the attack was successfully repelled. And voila, no more unauthorized connections since then. Now I always use Surfshark VPN when connecting to public Wi-Fis, because that is one of the benefits of this amazing service. The protection from hackers trying to steal your data. Besides that, Surfshark VPN also allows you to access geolocation-restricted content, media and websites, such as Netflix TV shows, for example, which are different depending on in which country you open Netflix from. And even if your information does get leaked online without you knowing, there are also Surfshark alerts, which inform you immediately if something like this ever happens. You guys can bundle all these services in addition to Surfshark Antivirus and Surfshark Search through Surfshark One subscription. And if you wish to subscribe to Surfshark VPN and get 4 months extra, please feel free to use my link down below, which is surfshark.com/Russian dude. Thank you so much Surfshark VPN for sponsoring this video, and now back to the program. Thanks so much for listening, let's continue. We were talking about probably once in a lifetime opportunity for the Russian propaganda to do everything possible to bring the US president on Putin's side. Officials like Foreign Minister of Russia Sergei Lavrov used to spread toxicity against the entire West, labeling American leadership as the root of every global crisis of the last 5 centuries. The US as a country is half that age, but that's okay. After Trump and Zelensky locked horns a couple of weeks ago, Lavrov has toned down the insults directed at the United States. Instead, he now praises Trump's boldness and pragmatic sense. almost as if the Kremlin is marketing him as the lone American politician willing to do business on Russian terms.
I think what is going on in the United States is a return to normalcy. The United States has always been the...
It is quite the shift for a regime that usually rallies its base with anti-American fury. The moment Trump points a finger at Zelensky or complains that Ukraine's demands go too far, Russian state TV leaps to amplify that narrative. They paint Zelensky as ungrateful, unrealistic, and even provocative towards the mighty United States, which apparently now is an old pal of Russia. Meanwhile, Trump emerges in their portrayal as the reasonable statesman, the man who wants peace but faces obstacles from Kiev. This complete reversal when the Russian media started praising an American leader reveals the Kremlin's calculated hope to leverage and extend any gap between Washington and Kiev. Even Vladimir Putin's own language has softened, at least when it comes to direct references to America. He hints that Russia has no desire to claim lands that belong to others. The only lands that Russia wants are their own, even if they are occupied by other governments. Hear the difference? Well, exactly, there is none. Putin also repeats all the time that his government wants a peace, providing a long historical perspective for the country.
We agree with the proposals to end hostilities, but we proceed from the fact that this end should be such that it would lead to long-term peace and eliminate the root causes of the crisis. But I think that we need to talk about this with our American colleagues, partners, maybe call President Trump and discuss it with him. But the idea itself, to end this conflict by peaceful means, is supported by us.
The actual meaning behind these words remains extremely vague, and if anyone dares to ask specifics about territory, Russia's official stance turns extremely cryptic. But in a public relations sense, it is easy to see why this new tone is vital. Russia wants to avoid appearing as the main barrier to peace, especially now that the word ceasefire is swirling in the air. President Zelensky, for his part, has not budged on his demand for security guarantees from the West, and he is not shy about repeating that any peace must prevent Russia from simply regrouping and launching another offensive down the line.
Щоб з'явилось хоча б розуміння, що ми однаково бачимо, що все це є частиною майбутніх гарантій безпеки. І тому навіть в рамковій угоді я дуже хотів, щоб з'явилось хоча б речення гарантії безпеки України.
To him, a hollow Putin's promise is more dangerous than an open-ended conflict, because it only grants Russia time to rebuild. From Ukraine's standpoint, if America truly cares about Ukraine's sovereignty, it should formalize that commitment in writing. Anything else, Zelensky argues, is literally playing with fire. For European nations like France or Germany, the thought of guaranteeing Ukraine's defense with their own troops is a political nightmare. They will supply arms, humanitarian assistance, and moral support, but sending soldiers to fight the Russian army crosses a line few European leaders want to touch. Explaining this to the people of their countries would be near impossible. Europeans might feel bad for Ukrainians, express solidarity, but very few, a handful in fact, is ready to actually risk their lives. This reluctance makes Zelensky's position pretty dangerous. Without Washington's unquestionable backing, Ukraine remains locked in a war it struggles to end on its own terms. And sure, Europe will most likely step up their own game in providing defense equipment to Ukraine, but America still is an extraordinarily powerful ally. In the meantime, Europe is wrestling with its own fears of new arms race, particularly if the United States and Russia strike an ambiguous peace that leaves Europe to handle the fallout. Russian officials like Dmitry Peskov claim Europe still clings to an antiquated militaristic mindset. They say Europe is the one provoking an arms race, even though from the European perspective it is Russia's aggression that started it all.
Пока никаких предпосылок мы не видим для возобновления диалога с Европой. Европейцы продолжают идти по пути санкционного пикирования, по пути убежденности в необходимости продолжения войны. Эта убежденность европейцев полностью контрастирует с настроем на поиски путей урегулирования конфликта вокруг Украины, чем сейчас, собственно, мы занимаемся с американцами. Вот.
Let me know down below in the comments, what do you think? None of this is yet fully resolved, and the voices in European capitals remain divided, caught between not wanting to escalate and not wanting to abandon Ukraine. As of now, Moscow's strategy seems to be letting Trump and Zelensky hash it out rhetorically, while the Russian military keeps pushing forward on the battlefield, especially in Kursk. This is where the Russian army is trying to recapture as much territory as possible as we speak. State-controlled television continues praising Trump with surprising enthusiasm, hoping to preserve this sweet moment of alignment.
Trump represents the world of realities, the world of feelings, which is based on simple traditional values. We have always been on the side of realities.
And yet, the second Trump asks Putin directly to freeze the conflict without any territorial preconditions, the Kremlin's tone may, and most likely will, drastically change. Personally, we would expect the reaction of the Russian propaganda to be the following. Come on, Donald bro. You know we cannot do it. We did not start it. But we surely want to end it. Just give us something better. That is me being Russian, imitating Russian accent. But okay. For the time being, it's beneficial for Russia to posture as open to peace while Zelensky looks inflexible to those who don't fully understand Ukraine's position. The ceasefire proposal was the first step that truly tested Putin's narrative, and if you have seen our previous video, we consider that the regime completely humiliated itself with the response.
First of all, I would like to start by saying thanks to U.S. President Donald Trump for his attention to settlement in Ukraine. We agree with the proposals to cease hostilities, but we proceed from the fact that this cessation should be such that it would lead to long-term peace and would eliminate the original causes of this crisis. But who will give orders to cease hostilities? And what will be the price of such orders? Do you imagine almost 2,000 kilometers of front line? Who will figure out who and when in the field of 2,000 kilometers had broken a ceasefire? And then who will blame whom in violation of this agreement?
What it looks like is that Putin wants to skip all the deals, discussions and ceasefires and go straight to total end of the war, purely obviously on Russian terms, which are completely unacceptable, if you know what I mean. And Ukraine, on the other hand, might take advantage of Russia's unwillingness to follow the steps in between, chipping slowly away at Putin's reputation with every declined temporary ceasefire. Should it come to the final question, the entire charade of praising Trump and calling Zelensky stubborn might unravel. The Kremlin's real ambitions would surface again, making it impossible to hide behind friendly gestures aimed at seducing Washington. For the moment, though it feels, nobody is in the rush to make drastic changes and concessions. Everyone is playing for time, hoping to corner the other into being labeled as the spoiler of peace. Well, there you have it, guys. Please subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. Thank you so much Surfshark VPN for sponsoring this video. My link is down below in the description and the pinned comment. Thanks so much for watching. See you on Tuesday.
We won't succumb to their tricks, the facade they try to sell. Their twisted words and feeble claims on us all they cannot quell. We see through their lies, their feeble attempts to sway. We do not believe